everyone, this is Margaret Manning with 60andMe. This is the place where women over 60 come to be inspired. My guest today is Claire Henry. Claire is the CEO of an organization in the United Kingdom called the National Council for Palliative Care. That's for hospice care. And Claire started her career as a nurse and has been working in palliative care, hospice care for her entire career, and is doing an amazing work in the UK, bringing the conversation about death into the public. So hi, Claire.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
I'm really glad you're here. We've had a great conversation today on other videos about the whole hospice movement and palliative care, how it's evolving really and growing in the UK. But I wanted to talk to you about the conversation about death. And as I mentioned before, a lot of women in our community over 60 thinking about it themselves, also dealing with aging parents. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this whole conversation that it's hard to do, but it opens doors to a whole different way of living. So tell us about this big conversation that you're promoting in the UK and why it's important to you.
Okay, well, the reason we're promoting the big conversation is that it affects us all. Death, dying, and bereavement affects us all. So the key things as me as a person and to your members is really asking certain questions. Have I got a will? And the importance of saying what's important, where do things go, all of those things. So have I got a will? Have I planned my funeral? What my funeral wishes? What is it? And it could start off with those questions, what I don't want. But a lot of people are saying what they do want. So they want it to be a celebration. They want it to reflect them. I've been involved in planning a number of funerals as well with people. And it can be sad, but it can also be very entertaining because it affects the person that it reflects the person that you want. So yes, I think it's planning a funeral. I think it's also having the conversation about what do I want? How do I want to be cared for? Where do I want to be cared for? If that's important to you, and writing that down. Knowing that you can go back and change it.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a key thing. Have I thought about organ donation? Would I want to donate my organs? Have I let my family know that? We know, for example, in Wales, it's more of an opt-out. You opt out, whereas in the rest of the UK, you actually have to opt in. So there is a bit of difference there. Have I sorted out my finances? Have I, do people know, have I got a life insurance policy? Have I got everything sorted out? Have I sorted out my tax? Because there's a lot of things around the tax side. So the whole financial issues really important. And then also, do I know what my loved ones want? Do I know what my mum, my dad, what's important to them, what they would want? Do I need to put that down in, do I need to have a lasting power of attorney, which gives me that legal right to act on their behalf? Right. So have I done all those, which may be different in different countries, but it's writing that down. Once you've done that, put it down, put it somewhere, tell somebody where it is, and then get on with living, because actually that's what we all want to be doing. We want to get on with living and don't put off what you can do today. So if you have got a bucket list, which we encourage people to do, go and do it. Something on my bucket list recently, which I did last year, was I wanted to drive a tank. So I drove a tank.
A tank?
Fantastic. Brilliant. I'd recommend it to everybody. People may look at me thinking, really? It's really silly. I mean, they're very simple things, but the fun and the conversations we've had about it, fantastic.
I've always wanted to drive like a big truck, like a lorry, like a big 16-wheeler. Wouldn't that be fun? I mean, like to go down the highway, like when you can see like from miles ahead and you've got this great big, it's like the same thing. It's so funny that you chose a tank and I chose a lorry. That must say something about us.
Yeah, I did have a flight recently as well, and I decided I'm a better tank driver than a pilot.
Oh, you flew. Some people do things like helicopter rides or jumping out of and it could be just something equally silly, like trying some different food or just doing something you've never gone dancing or learned. But you're right, do it and then live. You mentioned. I wanted to mention one thing that as you were listing all the different conversation topics, I just thought of one that we should mention, which is social media.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people, I mean, I actually keep my password. I've given it to my son. I've told them what, I want to happen when I die, and with my Facebook account, because there's no consistency. Like what Microsoft does with your email account. I know that Apple recently had a big dispute with a person whose wife died, or the other way around, and he wanted access to her iPad, and they wouldn't give him the password.
Yeah.
So if you do want your email to be closed, fine. But if you want it to continue, or there might be a lot in there that you want to share, or not.
No, absolutely. And I think you're right. I mean, it's really important we think about what is our digital profile. As you rightly said, a lot of us now have online bank accounts, so we've got various passwords for all sorts of things. We live our life online. Yes. So that's really important that you do think about that, and you document and you share where that is. And again, we know we change passwords, so I think there's various things we can do there. Right. But it's thinking, how can we do that, and how can we feel safe and secure that we know wherever we've stored that our loved ones know how to access it and what to do.
And an older person, maybe in their 80s or older, might not know about this, because they may not, they may want to give a message to someone or do a video. And social media has so much possibility for sharing. Even if you don't have a Facebook account, you can use social media to, like you said, live your life. And
absolutely. And I think it is thinking about all those different ways about how you can get on with living. And it doesn't matter how old you are, you're still young at heart.
Well, and this is the thing about our community. The women in our community are living life more fully and more energetically. No one's doing it gracefully.
Good, great. That's what we want. Don't want graceful.
We want disgraceful. Well, we want emotion. We want passionately or magnificently or some other LY. Yeah, but it's so true. What's your big bucket list other than the tank? What other ones have you got?
What else? I think I'd like to drive a bigger tank.
You're dangerous.
What was I like to? What other? I mean, I think doing some travel. I mean, a lot of things people want to travel, but I think it's also, other things are very practical. I mean, seeing different sort of theatre productions, really practical stuff. But also, I think spending time with friends, because we don't spend enough time. We're very busy with life, so I think it's doing fun things with friends and trying different things out. I think one thing I should try and do is probably a bit more dancing, but I never get around to doing that.
Well, I think dancing is a great idea. I'd love to learn how to tango.
Oh,
but I have to go to Argentina, but Buenos Aires to do that. But it's funny, there was a nurse, we talked about this earlier, a nurse who wrote an article about things that she's heard dying patients say on their deathbed. And, they hardly anyone ever said, I wished I'd worked more. Or I wish I'd gone to the office more. It's more, like you said, it's like, I wish that I spent more time with friends. I wish that I traveled more.
Yeah. And I think it's thinking what actually is more the fun side. And they can be very, very simple things. I mean, one thing, sort of things that people love is going out for walks. I mean, I live in the country, and it's really pleasurable going out for more walks and seeing the change of seasons and what you can do.
Yeah. But I think it's what you said is great. That if you have this conversation, this big conversation, death is big. It's hard. It's a hard conversation. But if you do it like through a death cafe, or there's one called Death Over Dinner, where you get everybody together and talk about it calmly, objectively, then you just fold it up in an envelope, put it away, and then just live. But do that conversation first. And do you have on your deathmatters.org like a template for funeral wishes or anything like that?
We do. We've got lots of great resources that people can sort of download and fill in. So there's all those templates there that people can use.
Okay, and that's Death Matters.
Lots of great information.
Yeah. Well, we'll put all the details in the article. But deathmatters.org is part of your national. What did I say?
You said Death Matters.
Dying Matters. Well, Death Matters too, but Dying Matters.
Absolutely.
Dyingmatters.org, and it's part of your NCPC, National Council for Palliative Care. Dying Matters is part of that. So Absolutely. It's all, and we'll put all the details so people can find you.
Fantastic.
Any other if you could just say one or two things to the community about getting on with life, what would you say based on your experience with dying patients?
I would say have the conversation and find out what's important to you and your family, and go for it and live life to the full.
Okay, I'm going to go do that right now.
Great, fantastic. We should all go.
Thank you so much, Claire. Have a great, great day, and I appreciate you being here. It's wonderful to talk with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.